What is up? I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. It is Thursday, June 8th, and this is the Belmont Stakes. Blinkers off. What's up, man?
What's up, everybody? What's up, dude? It's going to be a really darn good show. I think it's going to be a really good Belmont. What a day we've got planned, and hopefully everything kind of works out the way we expected to. We'll see what happens. There's a lot of drama once again around a Triple Crown event.
Listen, for everyone that's on here, like if you haven't figured out by now, we do the Gulfstream Park post draw or the post time. That's what we do. So if we say we're starting at 2:00, we start at 2. Well, if we have a carryover, it's even later. So it's 2:07. Usually 2:07 is like you can bank on 2:07 every day. So it's like if you show up on time, you're early. That's the way I look at it. But yeah, you're right. We are finally here, Alterman. We are finally in the final leg. I don't know. I always get to this point, unless it's like a Triple Crown on the line, where you're just kind of like you're excited for it, but you're also ready because the summer's looming. We're in the summer. We got Saratoga, Monmouth with the Haskell and all that racing. It feels like it's just right there. Del Mar. So it's like it's one of those things where I'm like I'm ready for it, and I'm also ready to move past the Triple Crown.
Sometimes horse racing, not sometimes, all the time, horse racing is its own worst enemy. It shoots itself in the foot a lot. This Triple Crown has been more about just horrific luck, right? Like you had everything that's went on at Churchill. Obviously, something's going on, but that is just bad luck when that happens. And then the scratches for the Kentucky Derby, another thing with the favorite scratch. I mean, that's just horrible luck. Pimlico, you had another big scratch, and then the horse that was going for the Triple Crown didn't win, so more bad luck. And now you get here where it seems like, again, everything was like, wow, this is going really well. We've got the horses mainly that we want, -1 or 2. We've got an unbelievable betting card. Wildfires, not even in this country, in Canada, are forcing what could be a delay. It's been a bad luck run for horse racing more than them shooting themselves in the foot this time. But look, I told you right before we went on the air, I just read just seconds before we got on the air, the Yankees games for tonight are still a go. They got 2 games today, one at 3:05 and then one after that, a doubleheader. They claim they're playing both those games. So by my logic, if you can play the baseball games tonight, you're probably going to be able to run at Belmont Friday and Saturday. If that's the case, who knows? But that's kind of the gauge that I'm using right now.
Right. No, and for those who, unaware, Belmont Park, in Elmont is basically right there in New York City, essentially. So it's all right there. So if they're going to play baseball, I mean, they canceled the card today, but I would think they're going to do everything they can to play. Dave. Yeah. Appreciate it, Dave.
Yeah, poor Dave.
Can we just have 1 week? Can we have one of these Triple Crown races go as planned, please? I mean, now you're going to have horses complaining that their lungs hurt when they run, and it's just going to be a nightmare. I mean, we haven't even talked about what's going to happen after the fact when all of them are complaining that they can't breathe.
I mean, yeah. I talked to Ricky before we got on the show as well. He said he was at the Yankee game on Tuesday. Said it looked like a war zone. It was hazy. You couldn't hardly see pop flies. He said that Wednesday it was just awful. He did say it's a lot better Thursday. He lives, I think it's like 10, 20 miles from Belmont. I might be wrong, a mile or 2, one way or the other. So, that's a pretty good gauge. And he said if it improves again, they'll probably be pretty well set to go. But, I mean, you can project what this thing's going to do or what this smoke cloud is going to do. But, it's kind of got a mind of its own as well. So we'll see. Hopefully it clears up. Hopefully we keep getting, improvements on that area. Because, look, it's not that big a deal if they cancel it. We'll just run it next week. And for gamblers, not that big a deal. If you're going, it's a big deal. But I would still like to see this thing happen on Saturday.
Yeah, this was let's see if I can pull this up. This is what I was talking about. This was yesterday at Belmont Park on the roof. Ron Flatter that's what I was telling you about, Halterman.
Mm-hmm.
So you know him now. This is what it looks like yesterday. Now, I haven't seen anything today, so this could be outdated at this point. But it does seem, if it is going to do this, it would be concerning that they're going to run. I'll pull it up on the screen here. I don't know if you can see that very well.
Yeah.
And honestly, the camera does not do the scene justice. It's correcting.
I wanted his commentary.
Yeah, I muted it. But that was yesterday, and that's in the afternoon. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
And I would think for the optics of it, you're not going to run the Belmont with it looking like that. So hopefully it clears up in the next couple of days.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and like I said, you're right. And the other thing about it is that you got to think about who's really going to want to be going to this event if it's like that outside. I don't think this is going to be a tough ticket. If you want to go to the Belmont, well, first of all, make sure they're having it. Second of all, just walk up. They might let you in for free.
Well, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
One, they run, and if they don't, fingers crossed that they can almost just keep everything as is, basically bubble wrap everything and say, hey, let's move it to next weekend, and that would make everyone's lives, including ours, easier. So hopefully it's like it'd be obvious, and it also helps too. There's no Triple Crown on the line. That would be the key thing. If there was one on the line, then what do? You can't postpone it because then all of a sudden it's not a real Triple. You know what I mean? So. That would have been a nightmare.
I didn't even think about that, but that would have. I don't even want to think about how terrible that would have been.
Can you imagine if Mage was running for the Triple Crown and all this excitement, and then it's like now you have forest fires in Canada, possibly postponing it? But it's not going to happen because Mage lost in the Preakness.
Yes.
So really, past him, that I don't know who else you'd want to see. I guess first mission or whatever, but it just seems like from what we've seen this year so far, everyone that is good enough is in the race, and that's what makes, I think, the race, I don't know, I think it's the best race of the three.
I think it is too. This and the Derby definitely better than the Preakness. I mean, you could make arguments one way or the other, but it seems like we've gotten to a point where this is kind of like, like other than Mage, maybe Two Phils, but Two Phils was never really meant to go this far. I mean, I think this is kind of the best of what we've got that's in training and running right now. So I'm with you. It feels like the best of the three. It also, the way the card is just stacked around it makes it that much better. And that's the big key here. What a card they put together. And it's a great day of racing. It's a Breeders' Cup like weekend of racing. Hopefully we get Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we get all these stakes races in.
Yeah, not only is it a Breeders' Cup like weekend, we have a couple Breeders' Cup races. We have 3 Breeders' Cup winning your ends: the Jaipur, Ogden Phipps, and the Met Mile, all winning your ends for the Breeders' Cup. So not only is it a Breeders' Cup like feel, it is, and it definitely has. To me, it's always that weekend that you feel like. I know, like we had the Shoemaker, last weekend or whatever it was. This one feels like the official kickoff, because not only you pivot from the Belmont being over, now you've got 3 winning your ends that are solid races, right? Because let's be honest, the Ogden Phipps, winner of this race, definitely could win the Distaff, right? Same with the Jaipur, same with the Met Mile. It feels like it's possible that Cody's Wish is going to point to the Classic, similar to what Flightline tried last year. So if that's the case, I mean, you've got some, and let's be honest, the Met Mile is not only is it a solid race for a stallion making race, but this year the older horses, I mean, it's completely lacking. So he can make a case for himself to be not only going towards the Classic, but one of the Classic favorites if he were to run really well. So yeah, it's a huge weekend, not just for the Belmont, but also for that undercard, and as it looks forward towards the future. Jason says the air quality is improved throughout the day. Today he's on the Jersey Shore, so Saturday will be fine, he thinks. That's good. I kind of want to we'll go over the Belmont. We'll kind of go through that in depth, and then maybe we'll touch on some interesting horses or races that you like, or the fans like on the undercard that we're excited to watch. But I'll just put it out there. We're finalizing the Bible as we speak. And not only is this, I think this might be one of the tougher cards I've ever handicapped. There's a stretch there. Races 7 through 9, in my opinion, of this card are the toughest 3-race sequence that I've ever handicapped.
Yeah.
And not to say if you get all 3 right, I'm not going to say that's completely shocking, but it's just there's so many options in all 3 of those races that it just makes. I mean, the Woody Stevens is insane. the cards are the fields are deep. Really good betting races pretty much all day.
Yes. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. And yeah, you get into yeah, like you said, a stretch there, 4 or 5 races where it's like, man, there's a lot of different horses that can win. And so you're right. I really love the betting plan I put together and stuff like that. But at the same time, like I told you last night, it's like I really love the bets, but man, you gotta press opinions, and boy, are there horses that could jump up and bite you, and you run like second and third, and be like, well, I'm not even really that surprised. This was a
Yeah.
really quality field. So you gotta. This is more about trying to figure out who is the real high quality and who's just they're really good but not up to that great level. And that's the job on this card. There's every race has multiple horses that can win, aside from maybe 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah, I mean, the Ogden Phipps has like 6 horses. I can make a case for 4 of them easily, like
Hmm.
easily,
Hmm.
It's just that kind of, it feels like one of those days where you could be wrong and right a lot at the same time. You could be like, man, I handicapped that race perfectly, but
Yeah.
that horse just got nailed at the end or whatever it is. Like I feel like you could, or have a really nice horse that you like underneath the long shot that runs third instead of second where you need a second. Like it just feels like that kind of day. But it also is one of those days where you just got to be right once or twice, and
Yep.
it can make the whole thing go. Um, so let's see. Dave, don't listen to Kevin. That's Kevin. Although I am here for the humor from Kevin every time. Dave, we have, yes, how many people work on the card? So Halterman is our lead handicapper. Him and I own the site. We started the site. We also have in the Bible, for instance, on this particular card, we have 7 people that have their input in there. Myself and Halterman, Magic and Somich from Magic Mike Show, Papa Do, Dr. Miranda, and Vinny Blonde from Real Dynasty. Those guys and girls all add to that guide. But we also have people that were, that do some stuff for us here and there. We're adding people, for this summer. So yeah, it's quite the team that we've established. But our lead handicapper, if you look on the website, those picks on like the free picks, those are all coming from the guy over here on, my left, but you're on the right side of the screen.
Yeah, we got a bunch. We started just him and I, and we've got a bunch of people now. So that's good.
I don't know. I will. I kept going to search. I'm gonna be upset if search results wins because at first I was on her and then I am using her underneath. I do agree with you, Michael. I think, or Mike, I think this is one of those it feels like she's due, right? But it also has felt like she's due for quite a while. That's another one of those. Like, if you really like Clairiere, like, is she going to be good enough? I know she's good enough, but she's one of those horses that can come running late, and then maybe she gets second to search results or the 5, or even your horse Secret Oath. So it just feels like that's the perfect example of a race that feels like you could be totally right and totally wrong in all the worst ways.
They're all decent horses, and they're all decently unreliable in their own ways. Search results being one, Clairiere being one, Secret Oath being one. I mean, right? They're all good. You can't really sit there and say I think these horses aren't any good, because they're very good, but they're all horses that when you try to just use them, they will kill you. And they've done it over and over and over the past 2, 3, sometimes 4 years. You talk about search results. So yeah, it absolutely could be her time. Talking about search results, it absolutely could be she gets second. That's that field in a nutshell. That's those horses in a nutshell. And like I said, that's no disrespect to them. That's just the reality of what they've been over the years to betters.
The tricky part about betting that particular race, the Ogden Phipps, it's that the horses are gonna are all there's so many. There's so many options to where you're gonna kind of have to hammer it somewhat in order to make any sort of money. You can't just play 10 to win on a horse because they're all gonna. Whatever, right? But you got to play some sort of exacta or double or whatever to juice that up a little bit. But the problem is, like we're just saying, like I'm kind of against Secret Oath in terms of how I'm betting the race, and I am fully aware that I could look like an idiot afterwards. And same goes for if you are on Searchers or on Secret Oath, you could sitting there thinking, why did I bet her? But it's just one of those things that you have to make some sort, and it kind of goes along the lines of a lot of these races on Saturday. You got to kind of go with it, like, listen, this is my opinion, and here's my bet that pushes my opinion, and I've got to be able to max out the most I can out of it.
Exactly. I mean, couldn't have said it better myself. You absolutely just have to make a decision and press it. And like you said earlier, you don't have to be right a lot on this card. You just got to be right a couple times. And I mean, that's a race. It's kind of like you said, you kind of need to bet it because there's going to be some value there. If you leave off a horse here or there that people are going to bet and you can do it and you feel like you can do it.
Yeah.
It's just, you got to be right. If you're leaving off Clairiere, you got to be right that day. You know, if you're leaving off Secret Oath, you got to be right that day. The bottom line is we can all sit here and throw out different horses. It's a who knows race when they open those gates in this one. It really is, because they all just kind of trade off and there's not really an angle to use where you feel real confident, right? So you just kind of go, like I kind of went with, I just think search results Clairiere, they might be a little better. Or I mean, Secret Oath Clairiere, they might just be a little better, right? Than search results. But search results could certainly beat them both. You know, so it's just, you're going to try to take a little bit of a guess and hope that you guess right.
Yeah, and honestly, I was pretty okay with playing against Secret Oath, and then the more I looked at it, I was like, you know what, the one turn might be a little bit of an equalizer for her in terms of, it's just all about if he can time it right, because she does have that pop, right, where it's like clockwork. Name a race that she didn't fire. Now sometimes it wasn't good enough, but she fires every time. So the one turn, I'm thinking that might help her, and that's kind of where I keep going back to, like, I'm worried about her. But I also think it might help. Search results ran too good to lose last year in this race. So it's one of those things, like, you got to make a decision somewhere.
If you think about how Secret Oath runs, it should benefit her, right? One burst around one turn should benefit her.
Yeah.
But again, it should. You just don't really, you never really know what she's going to do. If she shows up with her A effort, I do think she's better than the field. You just never really quite know when she's going to show up with that.
Yeah, that's, last year, I think, was it last year that, where search results kind of did all the dirty work with kind of put Latruska away and then got nailed late, but she ran good,
Mm-hmm.
Was it Latruska? Was she?
Yeah, and she was tired as hell the second part of that year too. It's just like, I don't know. She seemed like the more they ran her, she just kept getting tired. And I think that's why she kind of faltered. But yeah, that was that last year. Latruska went out and went crazy, and Search Results just zoomed by her, but she zoomed by her so quick, it was like, oh shit, now here comes the closer.
Yeah, here comes Clairiere and Malthought, who both come flying. But you look at, like, search results, the races she runs in, the horses she's been beat by, search result, or Clairiere, Malthought, and then last out, of course, was first off the bench, got beat by Played Hard and Secret Oath, who are in this race. So she likes Belmont Park. So that's a plus here, but I don't know. It definitely feels like she's due, but I also, like, if you've been playing her all along, I think you keep going, right? She 4-1. That's the thing too about this race. Like, you're going to kind of get all the odds in a ballpark of where they're at, because there's so many options, even Played Hard, who I think could go out there and kind of surprise everybody. She kind of keeps doing that. And she's 6-1 on the morning line. You're going to get a nice price on her. So all those horses are in that race are in with a shot. All right, guys, let's get to the main. Like, we are here to talk about that, but we're here to talk about the main event. Today's show, we're going to preview and give picks for Saturday's $1.5 million Belmont Stakes at Belmont Park, the final leg of the Triple Crown. Let's go. Rodney, I saw your question earlier, but I lost. Are we gonna do a preview of the True North, Poker, or Brooklyn Halterman?
We've got a racing guide going to be available. Well, it's available right now for pre-sale, and I don't know when you said it was going to be done. And yeah, they've got all kinds of content on that.
Yep. It's in my hands. I'm working on it as we speak. Should be done then let's say 2 hours of right now. So just
Go
kind
over
of
to get
finalizing
that.
my bets.
Yep.
It always I know it's like it's a small number compared to how many we put out there, but it's like it never surprises me. It ceases to surprise me where it's like the card draws like I bought it. Where is it at? You're like I just like you guys can either get just something or you can get our best product that we can put forward. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like I can give you something, but I haven't had enough time to think about it. You know what I mean? Like I would rather wait. If I was buying it, I'd be fine with getting it Saturday morning. So as long as I knew that it was like the last, you know what I mean, like the last bit of information that you could squeeze in there. But some people just like, a little antsy, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think people are like us. They like to start early, and so
Yeah.
they like to have that. And we do give it to you usually 2 days before the race. So, like I said, he said 2 hours. I mean, that's pretty good.
And listen, we do 1 to 3. Well, don't count the Derby one. We did like 6 updates on that one. But if you do, we do give if there's something that has a scratch, obviously a major scratch, especially we're updating it. So you can kind of plan to see an update like Friday night and even possibly Saturday morning. So it just as an update, as an FYI, anybody listening that does buy the Bible or considering to buy the Bible, make sure you know when we release it, sure, go download it, but make sure you look in your emails to see if it's been updated. Also, just go into the dashboard and re-download it on Saturday morning to make sure you have the final version with any scratches, or if it's a major scratch or update or something that's means something, we will, and we're not going to just leave it because we're also betting these ourselves, so we're going to give you what we're betting.
Yep.
All right. Saturday, race number 12 at Belmont Park, the Belmont Stakes, presented by Naira Bets, Grade 1, worth $1.5 million, going, of course, 1.5 miles across Big Sandy. Goes off at 7:02 p.m. Eastern Time. Really is the highlight of the day. Of course, a big day of racing we talked about earlier. Field of 9 shows up for this one, and we kind of alluded to this. We really have everyone we want in here, other than maybe the Derby winner, Mage. But look at that, Forte at 5-2. You've got 3-1 on Tap at Trice, the Pletcher combo there. 7-2 on Angel of Empire, of course, finishing third, last out in the Kentucky Derby. You've got really everyone in here. You've got National Treasure, your winner of the Preakness. You've got Tap at Shoes, another Brad Cox entry. Brad Cox has 3 in the race. Hit Show as well, who ran in the Kentucky Derby, Red Route 1. Who ran, who kind of just keeps running in all these races. Would have ran in all 3 if he would have qualified for the Derby. But okay, Halterman, let's look at this one. We look at the favorite, Forte. We didn't think we'd see Forte in this race a couple weeks ago. Kind of thought we wouldn't see him again until this summer at Saratoga, but it sounds like he's doing well after being scratched as the Derby favorite the morning of. What are your thoughts on Forte?
Well, my thoughts on Forte are I think he's the best horse in this crop. I'm just majorly concerned about the situation, right? I mean, I don't like horses where they said all along, hey, we're not doing this. And then now all of a sudden we're doing it because we couldn't do what we wanted to do. So now we're doing this instead. That bothers me quite a bit. And honestly, it was the number one reason why I did not pick Forte to win the race. I would not be that worried if it wasn't 1.5 miles. If this was the 1 1/8 Haskell, let's say, or the 1 1/8 Jim Dandy, I really wouldn't be that worried. I just think at 1.5 miles, you need to have everything kind of go to plan before you're going to show your best race. However, I have so much respect for Forte and his ability and his talents that I'm definitely putting him on tickets, just not on top for me. I did not pick him to win. But boy, I think he's a really nice horse. Obviously, that's a dumb statement to just say out loud because that's the obvious statement. You just go back, you watch him. He's just as honest as they come, and I think he will go out there and give it everything he has in this race. I just don't know that that's enough right now with his situation and how he's coming into the race.
I'm just dying laughing over here at these comments. Like, first of all, I had nothing to do with that video. Okay, I didn't even know we were there. That was a video thing was happening, and then all of a sudden we got that email, and I watched it, and I was like, I like this guy.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I agree with you, dude. Like, I went into it. Let's say like going into it, like, okay, like I don't even like that they're in the race. I don't know why they did that. I thought they were going to bypass it completely. I don't like change plans. Like I'm not even using them, considering him. And then I went into it. He was I had written down like he's my top pick. Forte is who I'm picking to win.
Yep.
And that's the transition, because you go back and you watch his races. It's a horse that just wants to win, and it almost makes you think, even if he's not completely fit or not completely ready, because he can't be, right after I haven't seen him in 70 days. That he's going to run his ass off, because that's what he does. But it's a mile and a half. That's a total equalizer. And I just have a feeling like we're gonna be talking about how, man, he ran so good, but he just got a little tired late. That's kind of my concern. So I kind of imagine a scenario that he does a lot of the dirty work. I think he's going to be closer this time than he especially was in the Florida Derby. He's going to put away National Treasure, who's going to be, on the lead. He's going to hit the top of the stretch, like he looking like a winner. And then here comes those two big dogs, the ones that are going to be, eating up ground late, whether it be Tabit Trice, whether it be Angel of Empire. I think those are the two most logical winners of this race. And, one of those horses get them.
I agree. And again, I still am going to use Forte, and I'm not letting him beat me. That's how much respect I have for him. I just couldn't put him as the top choice in the race. But if Forte wins, I'll be on the live stream very happy, because I just have that much respect for him. And look, I think the biggest thing of all, those horses that are coming from behind, Kevin, you're crazy. The horses that are coming from behind, I don't know that they're that good. Right. So
Right.
if he's not quite 100%, he still might be able to hold off these horses from behind. And that's the big key why I was, at the end of the day, I was like, I'm still going to use this horse, because 90% Forte still might be good enough.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing about it, is we also could look back at this race and say, wow, he just was better than the rest of this group all year, right? That there was never a question. I know, right? These comments are. I want to read it for the people that just listen to the pod. Kevin says, I took 8 weeks off from drinking, went to my buddy's wedding last weekend, and got way too drunk too fast. Analysis: Forte can't win. Yeah, you got to work your way there, man. It takes, one or two of those experiences to kind of get yourself back in form after you've taken some time off. We've all been there. So,
yep.
But I do think it's totally possible to where you laid it out exactly. Like he makes his move, he puts National Treasure away, and here comes, Tabit Trice, and here comes, Angel of Empire, but they're not good enough to get to him, they're just not, or they do get to him and he fights them off because he's a gutty ass horse. So I'm going to play against him on top, but that could be dicey.
Well, and the main reason, and I guess the only reason, because I put Forte in second, and the only reason I don't have him in first is I believe Angel of Empire is the horse for this race this day. I just think he is getting better with each start. You look back at his last three races, you just can't knock anything he did in any of the three of them, including the Kentucky Derby, where, my God, he ran a winning race. He just moved a little too late, and it's nobody's fault. It's just how it worked out. And Mays ran just too dang good for him to get, and so did Two Phils. So Angel of Empire for me is the horse that I think he's the one to beat coming into this. I think his price is going to make enough sense here to put him on top as well. I just like how he's coming into it. Look, they ran him a mile to start off the season, and they immediately put him in a mile and an eighth, mile and an eighth, mile and a quarter next in the Kentucky Derby. So 3 straight races going long. He's gotten better every single race. I know Magic was talking about his doshes or whatever, says he can't get a mile and a half. I don't care about that. I look at the horse. I look at how he looks running long. And I think a mile and a half will be fine for him. His running style is not really ideal, but I think if the pace is slower, he won't be as far back. And so I'm counting on that. I just think he's the one to beat.
Magic said that about Forte or Angel Empire.
Angel of Empire.
Oh, I was gonna say he didn't pick Angel Forte. Yeah, adding the blinkers too is interesting. That's an interesting move. Should be put him closer. I think that kind of. I was gonna ask like, who do you think will be further back in this race? You know, say like at the midway point or whatever. Tapit Trice or Angel Empire, and I think it could have been semi close, but because of those blinkers, especially, he's like, I imagine it's going to be like, if you just count like the 4 contenders, it's going to be like National Treasure, 3 links to Tap or to Forte, 5 links to Angel Empire, and then like another 3 links back to Tapit Trice, something like that. Which is a concern if you, I mean, Tapit Trice for me is a horse that obviously no secret about me liking him. He's going to have, not totally concerned about him being way far back early in the race, but I need to see him make that move like he did in the bluegrass and be put in a position to where he can make, because then, you know, when you turn for home, you just absolutely cannot be asked to make up a ton of ground. You know, you've got to be in striking distance when they're in that turn. And so if they can do that, then I'm not concerned, but you know, that's kind of what I said about the Derby too. And we kind of know how that worked out. So
Yeah. I think with Angel of Empire, if you go back and watch his Arkansas Derby, he was able to kind of do what you said.
yeah.
He made a kind of a wicked move and then was still able to just finish. And I think that's what he's going to have to do here as well. You look at Forte, you look at Angel of Empire, they're 2 horses that have shown a really sharp turn of foot in the past. I don't really think you could say the same for the rest of these horses. I wouldn't say they're necessarily one paced, but none of them have a really sharp turn of foot. Now it's the Belmont, and sometimes that's okay in a race like this, especially. So it's not a overly like just a knock on those other ones, but Angel of Empire and Forte can really accelerate faster than the rest of these. And then it'll just be okay. They've accelerated. Now here come the plotters, and will the distance be enough for the plotters to go get them after that acceleration? That's to me the big thing. Like, can National Treasure, let's say the 4 horse, get out to the front and just kind of plot a mile and a half? Yes, he can. Can Tapit Trice get a little bit better trip, get to the outside, just kind of plot and get them late? Yeah, he can. I didn't go that way, but it's not unrealistic. Even on Arcangelo, it's not unrealistic that those horses could still win a mile and a half race like this one.
Yeah, I mean, it helps too that you have who you have in the corner of Forte and Tapit Trice. Todd Pletcher, who's won this race 4 times, including the last 2 with Tapit and Modonegal last year, where you had kind of the Derby break Belmont, and that seems to be kind of his MO. As of late, as far as getting those horses like that aren't quite ready or aren't quite good, you know, the Derby, whatever reason, and then really they flourish in the Belmont, and that feels like, you know, Forte didn't run in the Derby obviously, but if there's any trainer that can get that horse to pop here, it's him, and you know, and same with, like, I keep just going back to with Tapit Trice, it's like, he's wanted this race with this horse all year, you know, and
Yep.
I'm doing my best to keep what I saw from the Derby out of it, because I just think that was never a race. You know, it was a terrible, considering how it was ran, and I was dead wrong about how it would be ran. It was complete, you know, it never was gonna. He was never gonna win with that trip, and I don't imagine he's going to have that trip. He can't have that trip here. It's always been a race that you're not gonna. They tend to be more tightly bunched in this race because they're not going as fast up front, and because they're going, you know, a mile and a half, and none of these horses want to go too fast, too quick, right? And so everyone's kind of tightly bunched up, and I keep going back to the idea or the fact that, like, I'm not convinced that Tapit Trice is going to stop coming, you know. So if they can just kind of get him in the clear and get him in the position, like, I think he's going to be tough to hold off.
I do too. I think my biggest problem why I didn't put him on top or in second, and I put him behind those two horses I mentioned, I feel like they have the ability to get a little bit too far away from him. I went back and I did kind of the same things. I forget about this Derby. It just didn't work out. He was horrible in that race. You go back and you watch the bluegrass. It's like, well, if a horse really accelerates in front of him and gets enough ahead of him, even at a mile and a half, I just don't know. I'm not going to be shocked at all. But I don't know that he can go get him. But he might. This is the race for him. If he's going to win a grade one, well, I shouldn't say that. I think there's more to him. I don't think he's got it figured out yet, so I'm not going to go that far. But if he's going to win a grade one in June, this is the one, right? Because it does set up really well for him. His running style, what he likes to do, is made for the Belmont. There's no question. So then it's just a matter of, can he go get those horses in front of him, or even if it's a national treasure that just gets too out in front of him. I'm just worried a horse or two are going to get too far away from him. And I just don't think he's got that quick turn of foot to go get him. He's going to have to grind him down, and they're going to have to come back to him just a bit.
Yeah, I mean, okay, listen, if there's a lot of it going into it. I'm like, okay, I've been on this horse. I'm going to pick this horse in the Belmont basically since like February or March, right? And so I'm like, part of it's like, the race finally gets there, all systems are go. He looks amazing on the track, and I'm like, not going to pick him. So that's part of it for me. Also, the way I'm betting the race is I'm not going to I do think that aside, Angel of Empire is the horse I'm most interested in from a setup, from coming into the race, the signs of, hey, he ran a really good Derby, kind of had some trouble, maybe just was a little behind Mage or whatever, you wouldn't say, but like he definitely had a much better showing in the Derby than my good friend Tabit Trice did. And so I do think it's one of those two that wins this race. I do think it's Tabit Trice or Angel of Empire. I do think Forte is going to show up. I'm going to key him underneath, I think, the way I'm going to play this race. I just think he's going to run really well. I just think he's going to get caught by one of those two horses. For my betting purposes, I hope it's not both of them.
Well, you've been waiting 5 weeks to make this bet. Your original bet for the Kentucky Derby was exactly what you just kind of laid out here. So
it was those two, and I think I had maybe one or two more on top, but I had Forte keyed in second, and I really felt, and honestly, Mage was one of them, and it's like I think it would have hit, right? Because I don't know that that Forte was going to beat Mage on that day, and so it's like I'm gonna try to make this thing happen here. I'm gonna will it into existence. Okay, we've talked about the main contenders. Name a horse here. I know Hit Show is one of those that you're very interested in on the early shows. Name a horse that's not named Tabit Trice, that not named National Treasure, Forte, or Angel of Empire, that could kind of blow things up and win this thing, and you're not going to use anywhere.
It's going to depend on the price, right? Like if Hit Show, I kind of feel like Hit Show is going to take money. That's kind of when I don't want any part of it. I would say the biggest price between Arcangelo, Hit Show, and Red Route 1 would be the one I would try to use, underneath somewhere to kind of spice it up. But you see this at the Belmont a lot. There's kind of a weird horse that comes in. I really think it's going to be one of those three. I would just choose the biggest price, honestly. I have a feeling Red Route 1 is going to be the one that's kind of forgotten about a little bit, because I do hear a lot of chatter about Arcangelo and Hit Show. And probably for a good reason. I mean, they both have kind of been a little better than Red Route 1, but I kind of view them all the same. So I guess my long answer here is I think Red Route 1 will probably be the price that he's going to need to be to try to get this horse kind of involved. And you know what he's going to do. He's just going to run up, try to hit the board.
Yeah, I might regret this, but I actually think, a lot of people just assume that like Red Route 1, they're going longer. This is all, he's one of the, like, this is the race for him. But I almost look at it like as almost a negative, because I think this race is not going to suit him early on. He's going to be too far back. He's not, we saw it in the Preakness, that race was slow. Now they're going longer. I think this horse is just not going to have much to run into. And they're going to have to either decide if they're going to use a little of the horse early, but then not have as much left. And I don't know, like, you're going to have to run down in order for him to hit the board, you're going to have to run down some good horses, and you're going to have to outrun, whether it be Tapit Trice or Angel of Empire, any of those horses that are kind of back there with him a little bit. Well, let's be honest, no one's going to be that far back there with him, but he's going to have to really show something that I don't think he can do.
Yeah, I agree, and that's going to be a little bit of a problem. But he could just pick off some horses that are maybe went up there and tried to win and got tired types, and so that's kind of where I'm at with him. But look, I kind of said on the video preview I did of this feels pretty top heavy this year. It really does. I think there's a clear line between the top 3 or 4 and then the rest of them.
Yeah, I think the one horse, if I had to, I think that is somewhat interesting that I'm not going to use is the 3, Arcangelo, like you mentioned, just because you could kind of you could see a situation where he runs huge again and wins, or runs huge and finishes second, similar to like the Preakness where like I was totally against Blazing Sevens and you're like, well, you knew you weren't going to cash that try because he was in it. Arcangelo ran really well in the Peter Pan, ran really well the race prior, and Castellano aboard. What if Castellano wins 2 of the 3 legs of the Triple Crown this year, pulls a Calvin Burrell?
That would be pretty crazy. I wouldn't be shocked. That's a pretty nice horse. People in the chat are kind of comparing these horses to horses from last year, and somebody Military History Uncover said National Treasure is another We the People. I kind of felt like Arcangelo might be another We the People, where he's really, really nice. I think he's coming along really, really well. This might just be a little too much too soon for him. Maybe in the summer we see him at his absolute best, So he kind of reminded me of We the People a little bit. Angel of Empire, somebody said Mo Donegal. Yeah, I think he does kind of remind me a little bit of Mo Donegal. So there are some similarities in here. I agree.
I don't know, Dave. I would challenge you on this one. Tapit Trice is going to finish 7th. I mean, here's the thing: like he may not win. I get why you're. I totally am on board with the fact that why you would be playing against Tapit Trice here. But just there's too many things about the horse and about the training and about the trainer that I think hitting the board is kind of definitely 4th is his floor. I just think the way the race is going to be and the way he runs, like there's going to be a lot of horses that are going to be quitting and being tired, and he's going to keep coming.
7th would be very surprising.
7th means something happened.
I think 2nd through 4th would be the least surprising. 5th through last would be the most surprising. Winning the race would be like not that big of a shock. That's how I would describe him. I really think 2 through 4 is where he's gonna land. I really don't think he's as bad as 5 through last. I don't think he's a winner, but I would not be surprised if he was a winner.
Yeah, Shoddy, we can do it. I mean, I did shave it somewhat or trimmed it, so we can shave it off if he wins, right? I mean, yeah. Do it for me. Kevin, are you really? Oh, never mind.
Good Lord.
I have a weather app.
Sucked you
in. For half a second, I was like, I actually want to pick your brain a little bit. I like the weather. That's a fun fact from Kevin. No, he doesn't. He's just being Kevin. All right. So let me throw a scenario out at you, and you let me know what you think. So Tapit Shoes, Tapit Trice's brother, not really. Tapit Shoes, half brother. Do you think that him drawing the rail, the fact that Brad Cox, that's my 2 monkeys in the living room.
I didn't hear him.
My 2, the Brad Cox has 2 other ones in the race. Do you think that it's like he's drawing the rail, he's gonna send this horse? 1, is he fast enough to go with National Treasure? I think we know the answer. And 2, do you think it could be at least enough to kind of do a little bit like what Skippy did to We the People last year, where it was like he wasn't right there with them, but he was just enough there to kind of remind him that I'm there and kind of do a lot of that dirty work in order to kind of set this thing up and tire out National Treasure just enough?
Yes, but I'm not completely convinced he's got the talent to do that as far as that early turn of foot to do it. But yes, he is a very likely candidate to do it, especially when he drew the rail. So I will answer it shortly. Yes, I think he's got a very good shot to do that and help out all those people who are not betting National Treasure. I think would be very happy if that happens, and I think it's very possible that could happen. He's the one, right? I mean, there's really nobody else that I can trust maybe the 5, but I don't think so. I think it's the one that's going to have to go out there. And with Cox having, other horses in the race that need pace, yes, he should go out there.
Yeah, and I even think that not to say that Forte is going to like pressure him, but I do think Forte is going to be much closer in this race. Look, you go back and look at maybe like the Fountain of Youth race. That was one where he was a little bit closer. Even the Breeders' Cup, he wasn't too far back. But I think go look at the Fountain of Youth. I think that's a situation that you might see with him. But yeah, I kind of think Tabit Shoes can just be enough of a nuisance to National Treasure, just enough to like where National Treasure isn't going to get the soft splits and the no one pressuring whatsoever like we saw in the Preakness. I think it could be just enough, and then you add on the 1.5 mile distance where it's just enough to soften him up, say for Forte or whatever, to kind of go tackle him when they hit the stretch.
Yep, I agree with that. I think you laid it out pretty well. And Tappet Shoes, he's kind of a goofy horse too. Both these Tappets draw together. I hope they don't just like run into each other right out of the gate. That'd be sad and funny at the same time, as long as they were fine. Yeah, we'll see. He's kind of a goofy horse. To me, you just tell him to go do that job. Just soften him up and hope my other horses can come get him.
Silver Charm makes a good point here, a good analysis of it. In the Derby, top of Trice and Angel of Empire kind of were right there. Tabit Trice was behind him throughout, and then when they kind of fanned out when the real running started in the Derby at the top of the stretch. I mean, he just opened up on Tabit Trice, 8 links. He says, Silver Charm says Angel of Empire over Tabit Trice all day. I don't necessarily disagree. I would say the one caveat to that is the first half of the race. Like Tabit Trice was way back, right? Was way farther back, and so he had to actually make a move to even get into position to be behind Angel of Empire, and then of course had to make another move to try to, and it just never was going to happen. The other thing about Tabit Trice is with him versus like Angel of Empire, he can't get stopped, right? He's not like, if he's like grinding slow, kind of just the motor keeps getting faster and faster the more they go. But if someone cuts him off, someone gets in front of him, there's traffic, whatever. Well, the momentum, everything stops. You go from 80 or whatever percentage down to 40. You know what I mean? Like he can't just stop and pick it right back up to 80. So it almost kills him from the start. So that's why it's so key for him to be outside of horses in a position. You'd almost rather him go the furthest of anyone in the race, just to make sure that no one stops him.
It's interesting. Like we're laying out all these things. Tabit Trice has baggage, right? And Angel of Empire doesn't. And that's why I picked Angel of Empire to win the race. Like, you don't really have to say any of the stuff. Well, Tabit Trice has to have this. He has to have this. And if he gets this, he's screwed. If he does this, he's screwed. Angel of Empire, it's like, well, if he fires, he should be there with a shot. Tabit Trice, like, well, if he fires, but if he gets stopped once, he's done, and this and that. And so that's why I was like, yeah, I think Angel of Empire is the play. I don't want to mess with Tabit Trice again. If you're going to talk about the Derby, you're never going to play Tabit Trice ever, right? I mean, so I get what the commenter was saying there. Yeah, Angel of Empire absolutely kicked his ass, but so did a lot of horses. Tabit Trice was beyond embarrassingly bad in that race. He was totally embarrassing for somebody that backed him, period. I'm not going to sugarcoat. He was awful. So he's going to run a lot better in this race. He has to,
right?
But it still doesn't mean some of that baggage isn't there with him. It's there. And that's why Angel of Empire was my pick. He has less baggage. I could see an easier time for him winning. That doesn't mean Tabit Trice can't win. It just means I want Angel of Empire better than Tabit Trice, especially if he's a bigger price. That's the other thing I haven't even mentioned,
I mean, let's just be honest. Like, is Tabit Trice better than Raise Cane?
Yeah.
Is he better than Rocket Can?
Yes.
Is he better than Confidence Game? Sun Thunder?
Yes.
All horses that were right there with him when he finished. It's like, to your point, I think it's a good point. It's like he may not win, but you well, you don't know. I mean, he's got to be better than what he was that day because those are not good horses that were right there with him.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the logic, right? At least say, okay, he's not the Derby, so you might as well just chuck that one out. Even if it's the Bluegrass, he's still going to have to run better than that to win here, and you just got to hope that progression does happen.
Does he have to run that much better than the Bluegrass? If
From a
he can do
numbers
that same
standpoint, he
thing and carry
does.
it a mile and a half and earn a 99 buyer, he probably is going to be right there with a chance.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I agree. If he'll be there with a chance, is he good,
Yeah.
good enough to win with the 99? I don't know. Doubtful, but yeah, he is definitely the best looking horse in the crop, Kevin, and there's not a close second, really. He is stunning, and I think that's part of my issue with him. I think he looks so damn good on the track. So those great horses, those great tappets, man, they like to run well here. Okay, so that's the biggest thing for me in tappet Trice. Okay, last kind of question. What do you think? I mean, do you think Forte is going to go off the favorite, or do you think it's going to be? I think it's going to be him or Nash or Angel Empire. I think Tappet Trice is looking. We're looking at third choice with him. What do you think?
Forte's the favorite. Angel of Empire second. Tappet Trice third. That's my I think it's like 2-1 on Forte, 3-1 on Angel of Empire, 7-2 Tappet Trice. That would be my guess.
No, I mean, I think that's. And what about National Treasure? Like about where he's at, 4-1 maybe.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I think if you like anyone else other than these horses are all going to be bet kind of.
Now let me
spaced
jump
out.
in before you go on. I have been shocked by the odds the last two Triple Crown races. Really, the last four since the Rich Strike thing. So there's that. B, if Forte is 3-5, I will be astonishingly shocked.
Yeah.
If you love Forte, I think you're going to get a good enough price. 3-5 seems like that's not going to happen.
You guys, the comments especially these big shows are top notch. Silver Charm says Tappet Trice couldn't explode to the lead if he was ridden by an insurgent with a suicide vest.
No.
Too far, maybe, but I appreciate it.
And I think
agree.
They're interchangeable. Tappet Trice, Angel of Empire. They'll be close for second. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think so too. I think what we've seen is, so for one, Forte was the favorite of the Derby, and regardless of the baggage and the things that have happened since that, like, he's still a horse that's the two real, and even like we don't even get into the drugging situations of what we have going on with that, because apparently no one cares to talk about that until a year later. But he's a horse that's won 6 of his 7 lifetime starts. He's a 2-year-old champion. He's a Breeders' Cup winner. He dominated the Fountain of Youth. He won the Florida Derby, and no one should have won the Florida Derby other than Mage based off of that trip. Mage won the Kentucky Derby, so you have that to go off of as well, saying, hey, maybe he would have won. I mean, the horse he beat by no count should have won that race. And the race, the 95 buyer, we can go ahead and toss that buyer because I think we proved that that's kind of a BS buyer considering how well Mage ran next out and how good of a horse Forte is. And so, yeah, there's that's why he's the favorite. That's why he's going to be bet. I don't disagree with you at all. I think 3-5 would be wild, though. But like you said, we've seen some weird betting in these races. I do think the Tappet Trice hate has now gone, like, the love was too far. Then it's after the poor effort in the Derby, it's shifted all the way to the other side where the hate has now gone too far, I think. And so that is going to help with his odds if you like him. And then, of course, the Angel of Empire ran really well in the Derby, just didn't quite win. That's going to obviously benefit or lower his odds as well. So I think that's where you're going to get Tappet Trice as the third choice. I'm not even sure I'd be surprised if National Treasure was lower odds than Tappet Trice. I'd be surprised, but I mean, I would disagree, I should say, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I would be a little surprised. The trainer, the jockey, the Tappet thing. I don't know though. You got Baffert and you got a Preakness winner. It's gonna be tough. It's tough. The odds have been really hard to predict. So it's not an easy question, and there really is no definite answer when it comes to this. It's just been weird.
All right. Let's do this. Give me your final analysis pick of the race and give me how you think the stretch is going to unfold.
I mean, Angel of Empire is the top pick. I think he wins it. I think Forte makes the first move on National Treasure, and Angel of Empire is right by him. And I just think National Treasure ran a good race, but I just think this is a tougher challenge for him. Better horses. I think Forte sucks him in. I think Angel Empire comes up there and gets him though, and beats him. And I think you got Tappet Trice coming on the outside trying to get them both. I don't think he gets there. So Angel of Empire, Forte, Tappet Trice, and then fourth, who knows?
Yeah, I see it somewhat similar. Only in my scenario, Tappet Trice, gets there. So
yeah,
I think it's going to be a case that National Treasure runs a good race. Forte kind of tracks him. Makes the first move. We hit the top of the stretch and they're in the stretch. Forte's now made his move. We're going to mention his name. Our boy, Durkin's going to call it, right?
Yep.
So he's going to call Forte hitting the top of the stretch at the lead of the Belmont Stakes. But here comes Angel of Empire. He's going to kick out wide a little bit with Pratt. He's definitely not going to, make the mistake. I don't know if I wouldn't say a mistake, but not going to let anyone get the jump on him. He's going to get going as soon as he sees Forte make that move, and he's going to go after them. And here comes the big gray beast down the middle of the track. And can he get there in time? We'll see. I think it's going to be tight, though. I think Forte is going to be able to hold off Angel of Empire. That's the thing about Forte that is concerning. It's like I think he's going to be able to put away National Treasure, and I think he can hold off one of those two, horses coming. But can he hold off the other one? That's a tough ask. So I like Tappet Trice and or Angel of Empire on top with Forte, just doing well, running well, just not quite good enough to win. There you go. That is the analysis of the Belmont Stakes. Of course, Saturday race number. What race is that? Race number 12 of the Belmont Stakes card or Belmont Park card. Make sure you guys tune in for the Belmont Stakes and go get the betting Bible. Yeah, that's the case. Go get the betting Bible right now at racingdudes.com. We do the full analysis of the Belmont Stakes card as well as the Belmont Stakes. Find out how we're betting every single race of the entire card on Saturday at Belmont Park. Race by race analysis, pace analysis, pick fives, pick threes, daily double tickets. Everything's going to be included in there. We had a 74% ROI in the Preakness Bible. I myself had a huge day in the Preakness. Hopefully we can keep that thing going. Exactly how we're betting every single race on the card in the Belmont Stakes day at Belmont Park. All right, real quick before we let this thing go here, give me a let's see. I want to do this. Give me a race that's not the Belmont Stakes, and I guess not the Ogden Phipps because we kind of talked about that earlier. Give me a race that you're most excited for, that you're ready to bet the favorite, you're ready to bet against the favorite, that you think it's going to be, you get some juicy odds, whatever. Like, give me a race that you're looking at closely here.
I think the Woody Stevens is really going to be something. I think you got 13 horses signed on there. As far as like the sprint circuit goes of the 3-year-olds, I mean, that's the who's who. That's who you want to see. I'm really excited to see that race. I think it's another situation where if you like a little bit of a shorter price, you're going to get a good enough price to bet that horse. And so that's always kind of nice as well. You don't have to really go price shopping. It's just going to be there. You got two Bafferts in the race. You got General Jim, who couldn't have looked any better last time out, and Fort Bragg, same way. Arabian Lion. I mean, really good horses, really, really good horses in this field. So I'm excited. I'm really excited for that one. If I had to pick just one that I'm most excited about, it's the Woody Stevens.
Yep, you said it. I'll give you one more since you said the Woody. I'll go. How about the Jiper? That one, dude, is. I mentioned it earlier, right? Races 7 through 9 are nuts. This is, of course, race 9. You mentioned race 8, and then race 7 was the Ogden Phipps, where we listed off 4 of the 6 that could win. So yeah, race 9, dude, is the Jiper, which of course is a win you're in the Breeders' Cup, and I mean, absolutely chock full, 14 horses of just basically sprinting on the turf. What more could it's going to be? It's going to be nuts. You got Caravel, who's been awesome facing the boys. What is she going to do here? Draws outside. Casa Creed is back after really running well. It last out in Saudi, where it got second. What can Casa Creed do? The pace setup looks like it's going to benefit Casa Creed big time here. Caravel, there's a lot of other speed in the race. What is she going to do with that? I think it's going to be a heck of a finish. Really good race.
I think it's going to be an awesome race. Yeah, it bonus the Manhattan. I think is going to be lit. I am so looking forward to that race as well. It definitely is one of those cards where it's like, man, I got some bets. I like these bets, but for the first time really all year, you're also kind of like the fan of you's going, damn, I hope I cash these, but this is going to be fun to watch this. And you're right. Casa Creed Caravel, uh, you know, Ottoman Empire or Ottoman Fleet, I should say. Ottoman Empire, Ottoman Fleet, and up to the mark. Woo, it's going to be good. It's going to be a really good card. It's going to be fun.
I'm going to be very upset when Arrest Me Red wins this after I backed him last time out big time and you ran like shit. Now he's going to run well here and beat me.
Could happen.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. That's that. And again, it's one of those things is like, you can't play them all. You got to make an opinion here. Yeah, you said it too. The race prior to the Belmont Stakes is going to be an insane race as well. Like you mentioned, Ottoman Fleet, and of course, up to the mark, who's been awesome lately. Red Knight, who's been really good as of late. It's Grade 1 winner now. Warren Point, maybe he can rebound a little bit. 2 Applebee's. I'm wondering, is Appleby hasn't been bringing the juice as of late. Like, they're not running as good as it wasn't it's not as automatic as it was. So it's interesting to see. Ottoman Fleet ran really well last time though.
Well, as I say, the one that did run well was Ottoman Fleet. And so I think if he runs that race again, he's going to be tough, but boy, up to the mark. If he runs his last race again, he's going to be tough. So that'll be interesting. And also breaking news. And again, this is my logic. If the Yankees can play 2 baseball games today, we can run Belmont Friday and Saturday. First pitch of the Yankees game. They are playing. I do have it on my phone here. It looks mildly hazy outside, but it doesn't look anything as bad as it did Tuesday night when I was watching. So I can only take this as a good sign that the Yankees are playing baseball. So the Belmont should be able to run Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, I think let's just plan on it. Okay. How about that?
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Fair. I'll make that decision for you. Yeah, Kevin, you bet. Like, one of us we need to stop sinking. You bet Arrest Me Red this time. I won't. I'm not. So maybe at least one of us can be right. It's too painful for us both to be wrong on that horse. So final thoughts. Anyone has any comments, make sure you guys hit us up as we wrap this thing up. But yeah. Kevin wants to know, do we bore you this much, Aaron?
Well, look, Kevin, I'm going to be real honest with you. I'm watching the Orioles and the Brewers. I'm watching the Giants and the Rockies. I did flip it over just to make sure they threw out the pitch because I don't have a bet on the White Sox and the Yankees. So I'll quit that. And I'm also watching Indiana Grand. So I'm doing those 3 things plus the show. So, and it's not that you bore me. It's just that I have bets and all this and I'm an addict. So don't take it personal.
Dave, the answer is yes. Anybody betting Chez Pierre? Yes. Although I'm not playing it to win. You gotta get creative there. But I think that horse is awesome.
Well, he said, is anyone beating?
Oh, Chez? I think it's betting. Well,
I mean, they all can get beat, but that horse looks pretty tough.
I have trouble reading. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'd be surprised. I think this looks like a huge standout. Those numbers, that last race was something.
It was.
And especially, I think the fact that you've got Pratt, who's ridden that the Chad Brown horse, the last 2 won both of them. Pratt rode Chez Pierre last time out, won, and where did he stay put?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's pretty telling because he likes to ride for Chad anytime he can, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. Cody's Wish. I I don't. I don't think I'm against Cody's Wish. I think he's the most likely winner of the day, probably. I mean, as far as the stakes races go, but I get
Marco,
it.
I'll put it like this. I will not be shocked if he loses at all. I think a lot of those horses up against him, we've overrated for a while now. But I would not be shocked if one of those quote unquote overrated horses finally lives up to kind of what we think they are.
Yeah,
Right. But Charge It, White Barrio, they shouldn't beat him. But if they would live up to the level that we thought they were, they could beat him. That's kind of where I'm at with that one.
I was kind of overcharge it, and then get into this race, gets the jockey change, which I think was very important, very needed as well. Not to say that Lisa is obviously he's a great jockey, but maybe just not for that horse. Gets Johnny V, who goes back to Belmont where he kind of had that massive effort. There's enough things that at least on paper, like you could see, like could he finally put it together? Maybe with maybe the mile isn't what Cody's Wish wants to do, although I think he does. But still, there's enough factors there. But I just think I think Cody's Wish is going to the Classic. So I just think this is a horse that is going to do fine here and pass Charge It and really even not Charge It. Let's be honest, like it's not a super deep field. As far as quality goes, there's a lot of horses that are overrated in the race. Let's put it that way.
That I'm seeing a Dr. Shivel comment. I don't know that he can get a mile. That's my biggest concern with him, but he's really talented. The Repo Rocks thing, it's like, sure, he can beat him. I just usually when these horses that have had these form reversals, let's call them, when they get to this spot is usually when the wheels kind of fall off. So I'm kind of counting on that, but his absolute best race can beat him. He can beat anybody. So he's a worry. He's to me, Repo Rocks is the big worry to me.
What is Repo Rocks going to win the Met Mile? I mean, really?
He can. I mean,
I could decide if
can.
Are we going to see? What are we going to see for I guess that's the $1 million question, right? Or like if he runs what he ran last time, then one, he's got a huge shot, and two, he's a pace presence as well, a little bit. But if he runs like he's been running prior to that, then he's not going to be on the pace really. So that's another interesting part of it too. I don't know what he's going to do, but I do think Dr. Shivel, Charge It, even Slow Down Andy. Like I just think the race sets up perfectly for Cody's Wish as well. That's the other part to it. Unless one of those horses freaks, you know what I mean?
It seems like as long as Cody's Wish fires, he should be in good shape. Yeah.
Yeah.
But sometimes those horses, they get out there like Repo Rocks and they don't quit. And that's the worry. That's definitely the worry.
The horse most likely to get beat between these two, Elite Power or Cody's Wish?
I think Elite Power is most likely to lose.
Between those two, I would agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Strobe is a serious threat in that race, but
Yeah.
I do really like Elite Power. But out of those two, I would put Cody's Wish as a more of a lock than that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dave says Elite Power is a fraud. I don't know how he's a fraud. Wow.
He's not a fraud. But he's a horse that early in the card, if you might try to take a shot against, maybe we'll see.
Mike said he loves Elite Powers and more lock. I listen. I kind of the way I went into it was like because I bet Strobe last race when in the Count Fleet, and I thought he ran well, and I was kind of excited to bet him back. And when I saw him here, I was like, okay, this might be the opportunity. But then you go back and watch Elite Powers last couple races. Holy shit!
I think you're betting against if you're betting against him, talking about Elite Power, you're kind of thinking, Well, if that race took a lot out of him going overseas last time out, and he's not quite as good, he will get beat in this race by Strobe, because I think Strobe is good enough to beat you if you're not at your best. That's where I kind of landed on it. But
Yeah, the only way you're playing against him is if you're saying, like you just laid out, like you're not that he's not a good horse, just that you're hoping that the opportunity here is that he's off the layoff, Strobe's fitter, he can get the jump on him. Maybe he's good enough to get it done. So,
yeah,
dude, I agree, dude. That honestly
it was
sold it for
crazy.
me. I hope I'm not wrong in terms of maybe needed a race after that race, but man, that was a monster performance
Huge.
last out. Like that was. I mean, the Breeders' Cup was special, but then to back it off from that to that race, like holy like that. The
See, and I kind of thought the Breeders' Cup was just he won
it
by
was Dottie,
default.
by the way, but
Like Jackie's Warrior sucked, and the rest of those horses were awful, and Elite Power was just the winner. He was just the best horse, but it wasn't that great. And then you look at that race in Dubai, and it's like, well, that looked different than the Breeders' Cup. That looked amazing.
yeah,
To, if he runs like he did in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, I think he will get beat. That's where I'm at.
he's going to. Well, I'll do you like kind of like you mentioned earlier. If he runs like he did in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, it's going to get awfully tight with Strobe.
That's probably the best. He still could win, but it's not going to be a blowout. Yeah.
Because Strobe will have the jump on him. He's a horse that even prior to Skelly just went nuts in the Count Fleet. And Skelly, by the way, has rattled off I think 2 wins since.
Mm-hmm.
Strobe has been a horse that's right on the lead or real close to it. So you'd imagine he's going to have the jump on Elite Power. Elite Power come get him. But yeah, it'll be tight if like you said, if he does run that race. If he runs like he did in Saudi, then it's lights out.
Yep.
And that's the thing about him. He's rattled off 6 wins in a row, and none of them have been close. Like there hasn't been one, including the Vosburg, including the Breeders' Cup Sprint, including the one in Saudi. None of them have been like, oh, it's tight. No, he just down the lane just eats them.
Yep.
So if he continues to do that, kind of makes you think that. Although I will say this, I will say this, and that's I am picking him to win, but I am slightly concerned, that they were pointing to the Met Mile, and Mott said, "No, I don't think I have him fit enough for the Met Mile to run the Met Mile off of the layoff." Well, so they pointed him here. That is a little bit of a concern for me.
That ain't good.
Because if he didn't
I
have
don't
him fit
think that's
enough to
very
run
good,
in the
but
Met Mile, do you think he can run him, hold off Strobe? Or
and
run
did he
down
say
Strobe?
that because he had the perfect horse for the Met Miles? So he just said, to the connections. I don't think he's fit enough, and put him in the perfect race, which is a sprint.
Yeah. Maybe.
That's what I would have done if the connections were pressuring me. I'd say, he's not quite ready. We'll put him in this race that's absolutely perfect where he's dominant. And then I've got another horse for a race that's absolutely perfect at a mile. Well, I'll put him in there. I mean, to
Yeah.
me, when they said the Elite Power stuff, I was like, why would they do that? There's a 6 furlong race he can run in.
Yeah. Why would you face Cody's Wish?
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe it'll come to fruition, but I don't know that. That's just something he may have said.
Extra nail, buddy. He's running Ellis Park on Saturday in an allowance race.
Right.
Watch out. God, I hate that horse now. I'm so glad the fantasy league's over after this weekend. I'm so tired of talking about that horse. What a bum.
Well, if he doesn't win that race, I looked at it briefly. Stick a fork in him.
Well, he's not. He's not in the Woody Stevens, which I thought was a possibility. He's not even in the Matt Wynn, which I thought was a possibility. Same next day at Ellis, of course, this year with them moving, but it's in an allowance race.
I'll say this: if he's going to be a good horse, this is second off the layoff. We're stretching out to a mile. If he's going to be a good horse, he should win by 4 or 5 in this race. It's bad. It's not a good field.
Shoddy,
I don't think his last race was a good field either, but
yeah, well, that to be fair, I didn't even consider the horse that beat him, Federal Judge or whatever. I didn't consider him in this race in the Woody Stevens. So and he beat him. So, Shoddy, listen, I mean, you're welcome. I never would have picked National Treasure there. That's why I traded because I didn't want to pick him.
Yeah.
And you got gifted where a horse looked like shit all season long and then won the Preakness. So congrats. I probably would have dropped him before the Preakness. So all right, guys, that's all the time we have. Check us out at racedudes.com for our free picks and our premium selections on our products page. Click the Get Race Dudes premium button at the menu at racedudes.com to learn more. Remember, go check out the Belmont Stakes betting Bible. We just talked about a lot of the card on the Belmont Stakes undercard. You want to know exactly not only what we feel about those horses, but how we're going to bet those races. Obviously, we might like a horse, but we might have to play against. How we're going to bet, Halterman and I specifically, how the top four is going to shake down with the entire team at racingdudes.com. Make sure you go to racingdudes.com and get the Belmont Stakes betting Bible right now. Remember, we're on Twitter at racing_dudes, Instagram and Facebook. You can find all episodes of Blinkers Off by visiting our podcast page. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the places you listen to, we are there. Go check out the Magic Mike Show. They were live yesterday. They did the Belmont Stakes, all grade 1, pick 5 preview. So you want more analysis of the card on Saturday, make sure you go check out the Magic Mike Show on all those same platforms. And Halterman and his dad will be live. What time are you guys going live?
Yeah, we'll be live in an hour and 38 minutes now. Hour and 38 minutes away from Dudes Who Bet Sports. We'll be talking Belmont, obviously, amongst many, many other things.
All right. It feels like I don't know if you remember Cat in the Hat, the movie, the new one, like where they're just like, it feels like that's what's happening in my living room right now. Like they're just destroying it currently. Yeah. And so I've got to go.
Knowing them, they probably are. So you better go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Got both of them here now, because Cohen's out of school. So now it's like double trouble.
You need to go.
All right, guys. All right, everybody. Good luck this weekend. Hopefully they run the Belmont Stakes. Hey. Hopefully they run on Saturday. I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. All right, good luck in the Belmont Stakes. See you guys.